Breaking right now, those hypocrites are preparing to commercialize the children in 2026. Nothing else could explain not only the release of this truly weird Christmas photo, where pretty much you see the children in full, like, come on, give this game up. But at the same time, Harry and Meghan have also announced that they will be rebranding their Archie Foundation, changing the funding structure in order to let the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old get involved in their fundraising effort. In other words, I'm going to translate for you. The money is running out. The interest is waning. Despite everything Prince Harry has said about trying to protect the identity of Archie and Lily, Meghan has won the battle. The weirdness in the upbringing of the children will continue, but trust me, it's going to be public. And Harry, yes, is going to look like a hypocritical fool, but actually, things have already got far worse today. That little racist Prince Harry has struck again. I mean, if he's not calling his army mates the P word, if he's not wearing a Nazi uniform, he's even describing his own child as a little African. Now, clearly that raises lots of issues if you're a woke-topian, especially, by the way, if you're a woke-topian who has decided to make a royal family conversation, a private royal family conversation, public, to suggest that King Charles and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, are racist. Now, this claim has emerged via Tina Brown, one of the most respected royal writers in the world, former editor of Vanity Fair, former close friend of Princess Diana during her life. But Harry has said, oh, she's lying. Of course she's lying. This never happened. The claim is that Harry told Jane Goodall that Archie was his little African child after he were born. The claim was made, and this is really going to hurt, to a close friend of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, a propagandist in their media sphere called Katie Couric. But Harry has lashed out, telling Newsweek the Duke of Sussex has never said anything remotely resembling what has been claimed. Tina Brown knows exactly what she's doing by inventing these words and attributing them to a highly respected woman who is deceased and unable to correct the record. Okay, so Tina Brown's a liar now, is she? Tina Brown's the liar. Okay, so let's look at Tina Brown's career and see how many lies she's told. Let's look at Prince Harry's career and look at how many lies he tells on a weekly basis. How many lies his wife tells on a weekly basis.
A fresh royal controversy is unfolding tonight, and once again, Prince Harry finds himself at the center of a heated public debate. A claim made by respected royal author Tina Brown has sparked a new race-related row, triggered strong reactions from Montecito, and reignited long-standing tensions surrounding the Sussexes and public perception. Tonight, we're breaking down what was claimed, what was meant, and why the reaction has been so explosive.
Well, before she died, I had a lunch with her, and she said that she went to see. She was one of the only people outside the family that went to see Archie when he was born, and Harry said, "This is my little African child. It's going to be my child who, essentially, we're going, wild child. Essentially, they were going to have this time together, sort of living a life off the grid, as it were." And she said she was absolutely stunned when, he chose the life that he did. So that's the anomalous part. And I suspect that if you ask Harry where he'd rather be, I bet he'd rather be really living that kind of life, actually. But, he fell in love with a woman who didn't want that at all. So I think that also has its poignant side.
Who do you believe? Well, I know. I'm backing Tina Brown. Of course she's telling the truth. Slight clarification from her, but again, this shows that she's a journalist worth her mettle today. telling the Royalist Substack. On Katie Couric's podcast on Wednesday the 17th, I recounted what Jane Goodall said to me in June of this year about Prince Harry. She remembered affectionately Harry saying when Archie was born, "I want you to come and meet my African child." She actually said Africa child, but I was speaking too quickly. Aside from that inadvertent mistake, everything else in Ms. Goodall's conversation with me, I rendered accurately. A source in Harry's camp brushed off Brown's clarification, saying doubling down, but now clarifying inadvertent mistakes. What else is she getting wrong? But the problem is, this is when we can put no stock in any denial coming from Montecito, given they lie. They've lied about conversations with King Charles in recent weeks. They've lied about Meghan's behavior in regards to her father in recent weeks. And they don't want this out there because it makes Meghan look as if she's it makes Harry look as if he's a little bit racist about Archie, something they accuse the royal family of being.
The controversy began after Tina Brown, a well-known royal biographer and commentator, stated that Prince Harry once described his son Archie as his little African child. That phrase, reported as part of Brown's broader commentary on Harry's views and mindset, immediately set off alarm bells across social media and royal-watching circles. Supporters questioned the context, critics called it inappropriate, and Montecito reportedly responded with force, pushing back against the claim and its interpretation. Importantly, this is a claim, not a direct quote confirmed on record, and that distinction matters.
I mean, there's so much to go on here, but firstly, give me your reaction to whether you believe Tina Brown or Prince Harry.
I would say after everything that Harry and Meghan have lied about over the years and how continuously that they do so freely, and then you have Tina Brown, I'm more inclined to believe Tina Brown. The fact that straight away Harry shot back, like Royal News Network said, like a toddler tantrum, very, very reactive, not thought about at all. But Tina did bounce back and said, actually, I might have said African, but it was Africa child. I mean, that's just splitting hairs. But the point is, she is standing by what Jane Goodall told her. And I believe that conversation did more than likely happen just because of Harry's attitude. I mean, he has said so many things to do with racism within the royal family, yet Harry alone, with the modern generation, is the one that's been caught out being racist and saying ignorant things multiple times, multiple times. So yes, I do believe that Harry would have turned around and said, "Oh, this is my Africa child."
Of course he would have. Of course he would have. But Tash, when you zoom out of that, it makes their horror at two members of the royal family potentially having a discussion with Harry about the skin tone of this baby, something that they tried to turn into an international scandal, look totally hypocritical.
Completely ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous. And I know everybody's gone over that conversation so many times because it's completely normal to wonder what your child is going to look like, which parent it's going to take after. But yes, I mean, it does make all of their claims of racism. They try to turn that simple question that so many people just wonder, they think about, even conversations between husbands and wives or the mother and father, who's the baby, whose nose it going to have? And they try to turn it into a way to burn the monarchy to the ground. This talking about racism coming from within. And it was just a normal conversation. It does undo a lot of what they said, but I think now, so many years later, I don't think many people really believe what they told Oprah had any truth to it whatsoever. I mean, they've done so many allegations and accusations at the royal family. And as I said, Harry, with all of the incidences that he's been caught out in, not just when he was in the army, but afterwards. I think with Chelsea Davy, he said in a conversation about, well, she's not black, And then I think he even went up to a comedian, was it Stephen Amos, after a show, and turned around and said, "You don't sound like a black chap." I mean, if anybody is racist in that family, not obviously counting the infamous, the uniform and everything else, he's just a walking hypocrite. He is the biggest hypocrite. They both are.
There are definitely a whole track record of racism allegations against Harry. What's so interesting to me about this, though, Tash, is yet again, they are the ones declaring war here. Like, actually, it was a relatively soft conversation between Tina Brown and Katie Couric. I wouldn't say that Tina Brown, and the way that she made that revelation, was trying to suggest that Harry was racist in any way. But because they are so hypersensitive, Tash, because of the claims that they have made, yet again, this gets blown up. This gets turned into scandal number one. They try to claim that Tina Brown is lying about what Jane Goodall told her. Now, that's pretty offensive because when you think about it, Tina Brown was meeting with Jane Goodall in September. That was literally weeks before her death, right? In October. So you'd imagine they're pretty close. Can we really believe that Harry and Meghan were that close to Jane Goodall, given they didn't even bother to attend her funeral? So again, I find it highly offensive. Tina Brown has obviously dealt with this in a dignified manner. And this is someone, by the way, who has decades of journalistic credibility. So the idea that we're going to take Harry and Meghan's word for it, given how much their word has been trashed. And I will just say, Tash, Diana would have been disgusted because, of course, she was close with Tina Brown.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, it is the whole story with them. It's the boy who cried wolf. No one's going to believe them anymore. They've told too many lies over silly little things, over big, huge things, and it's continuous. It's that expression, if the lips are moving, then someone's still lying. I mean, it is unbelievable the amount of things that they have been caught out with telling lies about. And even when Jane Goodall died, let's not forget that they did the big statement. So they got themselves into the media. They gave a press release talking about how much she meant to them and their family. But Jane Goodall herself had actually spoken to People magazine saying, I only met them a couple of times. I think it's so ridiculous that people make out that Harry and I are close when we're not. So again, it's Harry and Meghan trying to manipulate even a woman's passing and death. And yet they throw this accusation at Tina Brown saying, how dare she? Because Jane's not here to defend herself because she's now passed away. I mean, they put a statement out there trying to make themselves out that they were really, really close to this woman. They really should pick their battles. And as Brittany said at Royal News Network, they need to stop fighting back over silly little things because it causes the Streisand effect. Now people are looking harder.
As they should be. And remember, Tina Brown for a long time was totally in Harry and Meghan's camp when people like me were saying, Tina Brown, you're crazy. But even she has had to understand that actually you can only report the truth if you are a real journalist. And at the end of the day, the truth regarding Harry and Meghan is very bad. I mean, let's just look back to Spare, for example, when it came to discussing Africa, Harry tried to make out that the big issue was Prince William and the fact that William was in some way stopping him going to Africa. Again, Tash, total bullshit. Total bullshit. William was really very much behind this plan for Harry and Meghan to spend a significant part of the time in Africa because he thought it would be great that they would be out of his hair. But of course, Meghan lied to Harry about her love of Africa, pretended that this was the woman who just loved going with a small little bag to Botswana and was in a tent. And, she was cosplaying the woman who she knew Harry wanted her to be. But anyway, this is what Harry wrote in Spare. One small problem, this is talking about Africa, Willie. Africa was his thing, he said, and he had the right to say this, or felt he did, because he was the heir. It was ever in his power to veto my thing, and he had every intention of exercising, even flexing, that veto power. We'd had some real rows about it. After a friend suggested they could both pursue projects in Africa, Harry said Willie had a fit because rhinos, elephants, that's mine. It was also obvious he cared less about finding his purpose or passion than about winning his lifelong competition with me. And Tash, given we know that Harry is so obsessed with this apparent competition with William, you can imagine that is why he also decided to label Archie the Africa child, because it was something that he had over William, because of course William's children were English, something I'm sure he's actually very proud of.